No matter how many times Donald Trump tries to gaslight us and tell us that he knows nothing about Project 2025, he himself continues to prove to us, continues to show us that he knows everything there is to know about Project 2025. And he tells us that he has every intention of implementing the policies in Project 2025. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, Tabitha Speaks Politics. I am your host, Tabitha, and yes, we are still on the road to 500,000 subscribers. So if you've come across this video and are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you. So Donald Trump has come out on many occasions to tell us that he knows nothing about Project 2025 or what's in Project 2025. He says those people are radicals and he's not tied to those people at all. And yet we've seen videos of Donald Trump giving speeches to the Heritage Foundation. We've seen him on jets with the CEO or the president, Kevin Roberts, of the Heritage Foundation. We've seen him come out on numerous occasions to talk about the things that he plans to implement should he become the president of the United States, which is tied to Project 2025. And I just want to come in and remind you and show you that the things he's saying you can find in Project 2025. Specifically, this morning, Donald Trump went on to Fox News to talk about one of his policies that he plans to implement should he becomes the 47th president of the United States. And this policy in particular is about education and his plans to cancel the Department of Education. He's going to defund it. He's going to send it back to the states. And he says some other things about what he plans to do with education. Take a look here.
Anything to do with school choice, okay. But also separate from school choice, we're going to take the Department of Education, close it. I'm going to close it. We'll have one person, could be you if you decide to retire.
Okay, Mr. President, here's what bothers me about that. So let's say you have a liberal city, let's Los Angeles, San Diego, and they just decide we're going to get rid of that history. We got new history. This is America built off the backs of slaves on stolen land. And that curriculum comes in.
Then we don't send them money. We would save half of our budget.
Okay.
Now, we've all heard what Donald Trump has had to say about getting rid of the Department of Education and how he plans to defund and why he will defund certain states, whatever. So I go over to the ChatGPT and I ask the ChatGPT to briefly describe Project 2025's plan to get rid of the Department of Education. Here's what it says. Project 2025, led by the Heritage Foundation, includes a proposal to abolish the U.S. Department of Education. The plan argues for drastically reducing federal involvement in education, shifting the responsibilities of the department to other federal agencies, and returning most control to the states. This includes eliminating federal funding programs like Title I, which supports disadvantaged students, and encouraging private school vouchers and school choice programs. The removal of the Department of Education would especially impact low-income districts and those serving students with disabilities, as they rely heavily on federal funding while most public school funding comes from state and local sources. The loss of federal contributions could deeply affect districts that depend on these funds. The plan also promotes alternatives such as charter schools and emphasizing limiting civil rights protections in schools. So you see, when Donald Trump talks about eliminating the Department of Education, that's what it entails, and you can find it in Project 2025. But wait, there's more. Remember, Donald Trump has told us on numerous occasions that he plans to give the police full immunity or indemnify the police. Here's a snippet of Donald Trump saying exactly that.
Government, all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States for being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong actions on crime. They're afraid to do anything. They're forced to avoid any conflict. They're forced to let a lot of bad people do what they want to do because they're under a threat of losing their pension, losing their house, losing their families. They're afraid to do anything. They're incredible people. Among our greatest people, law enforcement, policemen and women, they lose their pensions, they lose their families, they lose their house, they end up on the street. We are going to indemnify them against any and all liability.
And of course, I go right on over to the Chat GPT and I asked the Chat GPT to briefly describe what Project 2025 has to say about giving the police full immunity or indemnifying the police. And this is what Chat GPT has to say about that. Project 2025, spearheaded by the Heritage Foundation, proposes significant changes to law enforcement policies, including measures to provide broad legal protections to police officers. One of the key ideas is granting law enforcement officers immunity from prosecution for actions taken in the line of duty, essentially shielding them from legal repercussions, even in cases of alleged misconduct. This would involve indemnifying police officers, preventing them from being held liable for violations of citizens' rights, and limiting legal accountability in civil or criminal lawsuits. The project also advocates for reducing the influence of oversight bodies on police conduct, aiming to give officers greater discretion and less scrutiny in their operations. Critics argue that this could lead to an environment where abuses of power go unchecked, undermining public accountability. For more details, these plans reflect a broader push by the initiative to reshape the legal system in favor of expanded executive and law enforcement powers. So you see, when I tell you that all of the things Donald Trump talks about, you can tie them directly to Project 2025. There's more. When Donald Trump talks about mass deportation, they're going to deport 10 million immigrants from this country. You can find that directly in Project 2025. Here's a snippet of what he has had to say about mass deportations.
How will you gather the several millions that have already entered our country illegally and return them to their country of origin?
Great question. It's not sustainable for our country. We have millions and millions of people here. It is not sustainable. Did you see in New York City where they're getting the regular students out and they're putting migrants in their place? We are going to have the largest deportation effort in the history of our country. We're bringing everybody back to where they came from. We have no choice.
And of course, I pull out my little cell phone, I go over to ChatGPT, and I ask ChatGPT to briefly describe what Project 2025 has to say about mass deportations. And yeah, we've got something back. So let's read it, shall we? Project 2025 outlines a path towards mass deportations by expanding expedited removal policies and reducing legal protections for immigrants. It proposes using military force at the border and giving law enforcement broader powers to detain and deport individuals, including those without serious criminal records. The initiative seeks to dismantle programs like DACA, eliminate asylum protections, and remove prosecutorial discretion, leading to the detention and deportation of more immigrants, including families with children. The plan would also increase the budget for ICE, further straining the immigration system, which severely curtailing legal immigration and pathways. Now, I remember during a discussion, a question was asked. I can't remember if it was to Donald Trump himself or was it one of his surrogates. How would you go about this mass deportation that you plan on implementing? Are you going to have military personnel going door to door? And who's going to be chosen? What's the criteria that you're going to be using to deport immigrants from this country? Because black people, I don't know if you know this, but we are considered immigrants. We are considered not native to this land. Yeah, remember, we're still in the Constitution as 3/5 of a human being. Yeah, so there's more. And last but not least, Donald Trump has been regularly bragging about how he had Roe v. Wade overturned. And as a result of that, they are now trying to get rid of mifepristone. They are trying to get rid of IVF, and they are going to the extremes. They are trying to make it so that you have to carry your baby. They're trying to make it so that if you are able to travel to another state to terminate a pregnancy that you do not want, they're trying to make it against the law for you to be able to leave the state that you reside in if that state has laws against abortion. Let's take a look at this compilation of Donald Trump bragging about him having Roe v. Wade overturned.
To make a determination what he thinks is great for the country and what's fair for the country. But the fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying, they worked for 50 years. I've never seen anything like it. They worked, and I was so honored to have done it. Well, I did something that nobody thought was possible. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. And by doing that, it put pro-lifers in a very strong negotiating position. Nobody did a job like I did, including Roe v. Wade, bringing it back to the states. What I did by killing Roe v. Wade, which everyone said was impossible.
And so now I've gone to my cell phone and pulled up ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT to briefly describe what Project 2025 has to say about abortion. Project 2025 stance on abortion includes severe restrictions and a potential nationwide ban. So when Donald Trump gets on television and lies to our faces and says that he doesn't support a nationwide ban, Project 2025 is saying that he is a liar. Moving on, it focuses on revoking the FDA's approval of mifepristone, a key drug used in medication abortions, and enforcing the Comstock Act, an 1873 law that would block the mailing of abortion-related drugs and supplies, effectively banning them. The project also aims to limit abortion access by restricting federal funds for abortion services and dismantling protections for emergency abortion care under federal law. These efforts would significantly curtail reproductive rights in the United States. ChatGPT also provides me with information on what Project 2025 has to say about IVF. Project 2025 outlines plans that could significantly restrict or eliminate access to in vitro fertilization, which is IVF. Central to its proposals is the belief that life begins at conception, which could lead to policies that criminalize or severely limit IVF. Since IVF often involves the creation of multiple embryos, some of which are not implanted and may be discarded, these practices could be seen as inconsistent with Project 2025's stance on protecting all embryonic life. The blueprint also implies a federal role in restricting access to assisted reproductive technologies, ART, including IVF, especially for single individuals and same-sex couples. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are just 4 of the most hot topics when we talk about Donald Trump and the things that he's trying to implement should he become president of the United States. And although he lies to our faces and says that he knows nothing about Project 2025, I find it suspicious that the things that he talks about implementing the most can be tied to Project 2025. And I just laid out for you what Project 2025 says about those things. November 5th will soon be here. It is essential that we all get out and do our part. Madam Vice President Kamala Harris has been stomping the pavement. She has been laying out policy. She has been talking directly to us. She has gone from platform to platform, city to city, working hard for our vote. She has put in the work. She has gone into the devil's playground to reach us. She's gone to Fox News. She's going on to Joe Rogan's show. She's going into the bellies of the beasts, trying to reach us, trying to earn our votes, trying to talk to us about her policy, her plans, trying to warn us about the dangers of a Donald Trump presidency, laying out what she will do for us, explaining to us how that does not fall in line with what Donald Trump's plans are for us. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He is a fascist. He has fascists around him. We will lose our rights if Donald Trump gets into this country. He's already shown us. He's already moved rights from women. The right to make their own bodily autonomy choices, their own decisions for what's best for their family. He has put women in danger. Women like Amber Nicole Thurman have lost their lives because of Donald Trump. We cannot make it any plainer. Please educate yourselves. Whenever you hear a Republican touting a specific policy, pull up Chat GPT. Put that policy into Chat GPT and ask Chat GPT to describe what Project 2025 has to say about that particular policy. That's the easiest way to connect what it is that they're talking about to Project 2025. You don't have to sit and read that 900-page document. We have shortcuts at our disposal to help educate us on what they are talking about and to learn if what they are talking about connects to Project 2025. That's it. That's all, you guys. I'll see y'all in the next one.